Hello and welcome to the Here For It podcast with Chris and Melissa. We're two sisters that are here to bring you real and relatable topics that we hope will encourage and inspire you, cause you to think, laugh, and grow. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And if you like something you hear, please remember to share it. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's topic. My name is Crystal Marie. I was born June 18th, 1980 in Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up with my mom and two sisters, and I was the middle child. Here's the story of my childhood trauma. When I was born, my parents were separated, and they divorced shortly after. The divorce sent my mom into a depression, and although she was physically present, she was also very much absent. She and I did not have a strong relationship, and my emotional needs were unmet. My father was an alcoholic, and although he didn't live with us, he would come over often, way too often if you ask me. When he was around, more often than not, there would be arguments and yelling, screaming, and crying. He was very mean, hostile, and scary. The truth is, I hated him when I was young. But I also had a lot of anger towards my mother for permitting him to come around and mistreat us. I felt unprotected. Growing up, I just couldn't understand why she would continue to show him kindness when he treated us so terribly. There were times that he would come over and she would make him breakfast and serve him. She'd turn off the cartoons and let him watch football all day. And he would repay her at the end of the day with some argument or cursing or belittling her time after time. He also didn't really provide for us, so she struggled to make ends meet while he was just out doing whatever he wanted to do. So her kindness just didn't make sense to me, and it made me very angry. It wasn't until I became an adult and I found God for myself that I began to understand grace and mercy, forgiveness, compassion, and love. And I understand that that is what she was trying to extend to him. But unfortunately, it was at my expense. These feelings of anger, bitterness, resentment, all of that, it spilled over into my adult relationships. And it caused me to struggle to respect men. It caused me to become mean and cold. And the arguments that were taking place in my house time after time put me at a constant state of readiness and just defensive in nature. To this day, I'm easily triggered when anyone raises their voice at me or makes an unfair or untrue accusation about me. I know I've said a lot of bad things, but my childhood was not completely terrible. I actually have many things to be thankful for. My big sister Melissa would be one of them. She was kind and sweet and so goofy and sneaky. She took me everywhere she went, and I don't know if it was because she wanted to or because my mom made her. All I know is that wherever she was, I was there too. We spent a lot of time together laughing and giggling, and she took care of me when my mom wasn't able to. She did my hair and she made meals for me, and I really appreciated her during those years. I am also thankful for a lot that my mom did. One of the best decisions I think she ever made was to find Jesus, and she introduced us to Jesus, and she kept us in church. When my dad wasn't around, there was laughter in the house and there was music, and I believe that she did the best she could while coping with depression. I share my story to let listeners know, to be encouraged, that you, or should I say we, can heal from our childhood traumas. I would say acceptance and self-awareness is the first step. And now it's time for us to move forward to complete healing. So if you have childhood trauma, join me on this journey and just know that our childhood traumas are not our final destination and we will overcome.
Well, welcome back to the Here For It podcast with Chris
and
Melissa. See that my story got her all spinning crazy. It's the trauma. It's the trauma. That trauma got you all shook up. Let's try it again. Welcome to the Here For It podcast with Chris and Melissa.
what else we supposed to say?
Thank you for coming back. Yeah, thank you for coming back to episode 2 of our childhood trauma. This is our 4th episode in the podcast, and we're just happy that you're here with us and here to share. Last week we shared some experiences about my life and my trauma, but this week we're going to talk to Crystal and just really hear her story, and hopefully you'll get some encouragement and learn some things from her story as well. So let's jump right into it, Crystal.
Yeah, those of you that may not have caught part 1, we're talking about childhood trauma. Childhood trauma is defined as adverse childhood experiences that you go through in life as a child, and it's actually from 0 to age 18. But we know ages 0 through 5 is where your personality and your character is shaped. So those years are very critical. They did a study. The CDC did a study. They interviewed all these children that had all of these ACEs, these experiences, and they were able to connect those to risky behaviors and negative health outcomes, both physical and mental. So this is really, really serious, you guys. What you go through when you are a kid, you have to be able to deal with it and heal from it, talk about it, that kind of thing. So that's why we're doing these episodes. And so again, like Melissa said, today is my day to kind of talk about my trauma.
Yeah, and so just to remind you, there's 7 categories in ACEs, or what is it called?
The adverse childhood experiences.
I'm sorry, guys. Adverse childhood experiences. The first one is abuse. That's mental, physical abuse. Domestic violence. The second one is mental health. Your parents may have experienced anxiety, depression, trauma in their life, or it could be bipolar. There's neglect. Some kids are neglected from having the necessities of life, like food, clothing, and shelter, or it could be emotional needs, lack of support in that area. Risky behaviors. That is identified as your parents may be drug dealers, or in prostitution, or doing drugs, or in some type of behavior that is not conducive for a caregiver in your life. And then we have serious injuries. That could be a car accident, serious illness. If your parents are sick or with an illness, how that affects you as a child. And then school issues, which involves bullying. Either you're the bully as the child, or you're being bullied as a child. So there's these areas. There's a lot of things that fall underneath these categories. And so we talked about some of mine last week. But we're going to talk about Crystal and focus on her today. And you saw her story. So, Crystal, share with us, out of these 7 categories, like, what would you say is your number 1, and talk about that for us?
Sure. So I would say my number 1 would be the abuse. I definitely experienced or witnessed domestic violence as well as verbal abuse. Some of the things that I will say is kind of like echoing Melissa and her story, and we have some of the same experiences. We're sisters. We lived in the same house, but there are some differences as well. So with the verbal abuse, I would say I just remember from the time I was a child. I think my parents may have separated in 1982. I don't remember what happened to me.
It was a lot of going back and forth at that particular time.
Yeah, so I don't remember him living there, but he was around often. More often than not, when he was around, I always just remember that there was a situation going on. He was probably intoxicated, but I may have been too young to know that he was drinking. I think when I got a little bit older, I began to recognize, though, the smell of alcohol and the smell of the spirit that was with him, or that I believe was with him. And so when he would hit the door, I would know, something is about to happen.
I remember that.
Something bad is about to happen. Or I would hear his car pull up and my heart would drop, because I knew my daddy was coming and some bad things were going to happen. There was going to be an argument. Somebody was going to be a bitch.
Somebody's going to get mad. Yes.
Mama. But yeah, so the verbal abuse was real. I watched my dad. He was so mean to my mother. I remember being young, ages 0 through 5. And I remember that in their arguments that I would tune into, he would always blame her for everything. I don't care if it was the littlest argument about, why is the pot left on the stove? It was like it was all her fault. Like she was the reason for everything bad that was happening in his life, in the world, in the household. And he would just be very angry. He would use angry words. My dad had a very stern face. Y'all see these Indian cheekbones?
Ooh, daddy's face.
I get it from him. I look most like him.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had the face, the body language. It was all very scary for a small child. And I just remember that I couldn't stand for him to come around because there weren't many happy days. Just always arguing. And I realized that when he would come around, I would feel, you know, that fight or flight. Fight or flight mode is basically, you know, a stage that your body goes into when you feel threatened, you know. And so fight or flight mode, that is the stage that I was constantly in. Like I said, if I would hear his car pull up, when I would hear the door open, I would smell the alcohol before he even opened his mouth. And I used to be afraid, but I used to also be angry. I was angry that my mom kept letting him come over. And I had to become, you know, a teenager into my adult life to understand that when my mom found God, my mom had a new level of grace and mercy for the man that she loved and that she married. My mom had a hope that was like no other. Her hope wasn't only in Christ, but she just believed in the possibility. She prayed for my dad, and she believed that God could and would change him, and she didn't want to give up on him because he had a lot of trauma, and she didn't want to just leave him hanging. But unfortunately, in making those decisions to allow him to come around, it was harmful to me. It was harmful to my upbringing. And you know, that fight or flight and that stress, literally your body releases a stress hormone. And after doing some research, I found out that after it happens so many times, that you go into a state that your body doesn't know how to turn that fight or flight hormone off. And so when you meet me, and as an adult, people will be like, she always on ready. Well, I'm always on ready because when I was little, I always had to be on ready. I had to be ready for my dad to pull up and be acting crazy. I had to be ready to defend my mom. And we didn't necessarily physically fight. You know, if you watch Melissa's story, she said, you know, that she was fearful and she would like maybe go to a quiet place or withdraw. Y'all, I was about it. Like Master P wrote the song about your girl, okay? So I was like, I wasn't going for it. I mean, there was a period of time where I would cry, and then I was like, I'm not about to be scared of this man. I was ready. And
I want to say to Crystal, it's so funny that you said that when Daddy would come around, that it was fight or flight, and it was, I know that I got to be ready to fight. I know I got to be strong. We got to be on the lookout. I had that too, but I was excited to see him.
Mixed with it.
Okay, I was happy. I was happy that my dad was coming because I loved him. You got that thing that Daddy's here. My daddy's here. I hope it's gonna be great. And we knew that it wasn't. So it was always that fear thing. So it's so funny how our reactions were different and were mixed.
Absolutely. So him coming around, it was never good. And listen, the crazy thing is, like, my mom could say, hey, we're going to Geauga Lake. That's an amusement park in Ohio where we used to live. And Dad, you know, we're all going as a family. My dad will come. And even though, you know, that should be something you would get excited about, in my heart, I was like, this is not going to end well. Even if it starts out good, it's not going to end well. And y'all, it usually did not end well. And if it wasn't us getting cursed out, we would be at Geauga Lake, and maybe somebody would give him, he asked for a root beer and they gave him a Coke. He would be cursing out, you know, the person that my dad was just,
always at McDonald's. We never ended up getting the Happy Meal because they would mess up the order, and Daddy
weren't happy.
No. Listen, I don't mean to hijack, and I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm so sorry, but the things that Crystal are talking about, it's just bringing up memories of going to McDonald's, we would always have some type of altercation because the order wasn't right.
Yeah.
And we would be in the backseat hungry, and we would pull off and not get no McDonald's because the person got the order wrong, or they didn't hear what he said.
He would get upset. He would curse them out.
My dad,
he had road rage, so there were times that I'm in the car with him, and someone has cut him off or flicked him off. My dad will pull over, get out of the car. He would chase them while he's got his young children, girls,
in the car. So we became hard.
Y'all.
We were so hard.
Y'all. So just always being on ready. If you see me and I am defensive, or if you say to me, just something and I'm ready to pop off, it's not for no reason. It's not okay. It doesn't excuse it.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. But that is, one of the things that I can just track directly back to my childhood experiences.
Yeah.
I would say another category would be the neglect. So again, by the time I was born, like Melissa told us in the last episode, my parents were divorcing. It was not a happy time. And I believe that my mother, although maybe not clinically diagnosed, she went into a deep depression.
Yeah.
And she was so depressed that the only thing that she could do was fix a little food, muster her up enough strength to go to work.
Yeah.
Take us to church, but that was it.
That was it.
But emotionally, she was not there. And so, when I'm having these fight or flight feelings, when I'm experiencing this anger because of how my dad is treating her and treating us, she was never there to say, "Are you okay?" Never checked on me. And it was not, I don't believe it was because she didn't love me, but she just didn't have the capacity to. And I just want to say really quickly, because I understand, and God is good. He helps me to understand. I don't have any ill feelings towards her with regard to that. I understand. You can't give somebody something that you don't have to give.
And you got to think about it. And nobody ever said, "I'm sorry" to her.
Yeah.
So my dad didn't apologize. Nobody took care of her. Nobody said, "How are you doing?" So she didn't have it. She didn't have it.
She did
and
not
I get it.
And I love her, and it's okay.
And we love you, Mom.
Yeah, absolutely. One experience or story that I want to share that sticks out is that, when my parents, they were separated. I don't even know if they were divorced. My dad would still come back around. I already talked about how my mom still had that hope, right? But he started to do some very disrespectful things. And I remember being little, my mother was in her bedroom and my dad and I were in the kitchen. I was sitting at the table and we had, is it rotary phones?
It was a rotary phone with the long cord.
Yeah, we had a yellow rotary phone on the wall in our kitchen. I guess my mom had a phone in her bedroom as well. And my dad made a phone call. He called a female, and it's funny because I was sitting there at the table and he was whispering. I didn't know who he was talking to, but he was whispering. And my mom, let me tell you, she is cold with it, okay?
Sister Strickland.
Sister Strickland. Listen, if you need a private eye detective back in the day, she could have done it. No, but seriously, she picked up the phone from the other room and she heard the conversation that my dad was having.
I kind of remember that, yeah.
And so she came in like a quiet storm into the kitchen and he ended his phone call. I'm just sitting there. She questioned him a little bit about what was going on, the phone call he was having, and he was not honest about it. And she became very angry. They started arguing. I was still sitting there. The next thing I know, there's a knife. It's in her hand. My dad is holding his hands up for fear. He should have been scared. Next thing I know, I just see blood everywhere. And I'm just sitting at the table like, just completely traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember screaming or crying.
No.
I was just like,
yeah,
what in the world is happening? My dad ran out of the house and she maybe kind of chased him out of the house, that kind of thing. It was just very traumatic. I'm like, I don't know if she killed him. I don't know if she, stabbed his chest, his arm. I didn't know. I was very, very young. I was like 5 years old. But what I remember is that we never talked about it. Like
Nothing was said. If you were in the kitchen eating, you just kept eating.
It wasn't like, I'm sorry that you saw that. Are you okay? Let's pray. Let's regroup.
Let's hug.
Nothing. So that emotional, my emotions, they were neglected. I didn't have an opportunity to speak out about it. And what it resulted in my heart was anger. I just became, I was just an angry person. Why are you letting this happen? Why is he doing it? Why are you letting it happen? Why did I have to be here to witness it? I am just mad at everybody and everything. And so like I said in some other episodes, that I feel like some of my dad's anger was just passed down to me. But then I had these experiences that made me, that fuel that fire and fuel that anger. So there's another experience that I'll share. It happened a little bit past the age of 5. It still kind of contributes to, who I am now, and it's something that I'm fighting with. When I was younger, I don't think I was really a bad child. I was a mean child, but I wasn't really.
She used to be beating up Deb.
Oh, I did.
You used to beat up Deb for no reason. Bullying. Yes, Crystal used to beat up people.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes, and laugh. Deb, we'd be like, but Deb, look.
Wait.
Deb would come down the street.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Deb used to be.
Okay, wait, let me tell these people.
Yeah.
Y'all, so there was this girl. Her name was Deb. I guess maybe she was my age.
She was.
She lived up the street from us.
She was older than you. Yes, he was beating her up.
Okay. So, I forgot about this.
Sorry, Deb.
So she lived up the hill from us, and she had a jerry curl, and she had a very unique voice.
It was her voice. Crystal didn't like her voice.
It's not funny. No, it's not funny, Crystal.
Not funny.
It's not funny. I'm sorry. Y'all, I'm laughing because I can't believe myself. I was so angry. I didn't like her voice, y'all. So I would have to come play. My mom would try to make me play with her, and I didn't want to play with her because I didn't like her voice.
And you just punch her and be like, "Shut up, Deb." You just tear her up.
Oh my God.
And Deb will come back for more every day.
Excuse me. Excuse me for one moment. Oh my gosh. I was a bully. I didn't even know. I literally did not know
you would
that.
just punch. Deb would come down the street and Chris would just be like, pow, and send her home. But I let her, and I feel so bad.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Yeah, Crystal.
I feel so bad.
Yeah, sorry, Dad.
I am so sorry for that.
Yeah,
I guess I was angry, and I forgot that it even happened. That was another thing that I wanted to say. So we were thinking about, sharing our childhood trauma with you guys from ages 0 to 5. And I told my sister, I was like, I don't remember a lot of things that happened. And I don't remember them because throughout my life, I have used forgetting and going to sleep as a coping mechanism. So much so that it's like almost like my forgetfulness meter is broken, and I have begun to forget things that I shouldn't forget.
Yeah.
Just to deal, I just throw everything into I forgot about that. So that I can move on. I may not want to deal with it or talk about it. I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna forget about it, and that's that. And so there's some memories or some things that may have happened that I don't even remember because I dumped it. I erased it. And maybe like sometimes if someone talks about it or something may trigger.
Like I just brought it up.
Yeah. I was a bully. I am so embarrassed to say that. And that's not who I like. So it's crazy to me, y'all, because in like elementary school and middle school, I would take up for people that would bully people. So just to know that I had a little bit of that in me I forgot. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I would say, when you talk about forgetting.
Yeah.
When you put effort into doing away with your problems by forgetting them or sweeping them under the rug as if they don't happen, everything becomes like that. and you just don't remember. And while I have a good memory, I forget when people do me wrong, and I just be like, it's okay. Everything is all right. That goes back to that lion that we were talking about. So that is a real coping mechanism that, you know, it's not good, because when you turn it off, you're turning off a lot of other emotions that you need to survive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is not something that you want to do.
I can't believe I used to be a booger.
Yeah. But Crystal was mean. She, you know, she just was, like she talked about, was mean, not because she's a mean person, but if you hear the story and I'm listening to you, you had reason, and
I had a lot to be angry about.
It came out from anger.
I was like, Mom, why do he keep coming over here?
Yeah, Crystal was mad. Like, why this nigga? Crystal was about it. She was the first one ready to fight. Because of my love for my dad, I didn't want to fight. I don't want nobody to fight.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to be hurt, and I'm afraid, and I don't want we had two different experiences that brought about trauma.
And you know, I feel like I don't like when people mistreat people.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Even though I have mistreated people, I don't like that. Like I just used to feel like my mom does not deserve for you to talk to her like that. I didn't even do nothing. I didn't even ask to be born, okay? And you talking to me crazy. I am 5 years old. I'm a little girl. You're supposed to love me and hug me and pick me up and be kind to me.
Yes,
you're my dad. You are, you know, my first experience of what a relationship is supposed to be like, from a, you know, male to female. And I'm like, I am mad that you messing this up, sir. He was messing it up, and so I was very angry about it.
Well, going to Crystal, and I don't know if you want to share this story about, you know, we very seldom got whoopings. Like, I would tell you, my dad would hit me upside of my head, whatever, but getting a whooping for me, I was terrified. I mean, you killing me when I'm getting a whooping. I'm hollering, I'm screaming.
You one of them?
You know that
exhausting your parent, running,
screaming before you get the whooping and worried about it all day. But Crystal's whooping experiences was different.
My story is totally different. So this was my thing, you guys. Again, my mom, she my dad, like Melissa said, he delighted in being stern, being a disciplinarian. He was that guy. He was like, you know, if you got a problem, call me. There are other family members that will say that. They even talked about it at his funeral. Like, you know, if we had a problem with this or that, we'll call Jimmy. He'll go get his gun. He'll go do this. He'll go do that. Right. So he would literally say, "I'm the trouble starter. I'm the trouble maker. You want trouble? You come to trouble." He had all these cliches.
Don't start shit. Won't be no shit.
Oh my dad.
He was cliche man.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole podcast. But anyways, so I did something wrong. I don't remember what I did wrong. Probably beat up Dad.
It wasn't that. It was just always something stupid. It wasn't whooping worthy.
Right. So whatever I did, my mom said, I'm going to call your father and I'm going to tell him what you did, and he's going to come and discipline you. So I was disappointed, because I felt like he was not there for me in other areas. You don't get to discipline me. You don't get to be absent. You don't get to treat me mean. You don't get to neglect my needs, like my food, water, and shelter. At that time, he wasn't taking care of me in any way. So why should you be able to come and discipline me? You don't even really know me, right? So anyways, he was allowed to come, and we had a basement. We had a pole in the basement. So he came over. He's like, yeah, I'm about to give you this whooping. Go downstairs, you know, pull your pants down or whatever. I wasn't completely naked, but whatever.
Isn't that awful when your parents say pull your pants down so you can get a whooping?
Right.
I don't like that.
No. So pull your pants down, about to give you this whooping. And he told me to hold on to the pole, and he began to whoop me. Before he began to whoop me, I decided in my heart that I would not give him the satisfaction of, I wouldn't shed a tear, I wouldn't cry, that I was going to hold it all inside, because if you're not taking care of me, you don't really love me. You think you're gonna come over here and whoop me, and you're going to find satisfaction in, like, yeah, I did this, you know, I disciplined her, and then you just gonna leave? No. So my dad, y'all, he had whooped me.
He was tired.
That whooping turned into like a beating, right? He probably hit me like 40, 50 times with the belt. I didn't make a sound. And I was proud of myself. I was really proud, to the point where he was like, he said, go to your room or something like that.
He couldn't do nothing.
He had nothing. I gave him nothing.
I was crying for her.
Melissa was screaming. I remember this. Melissa was screaming at her, don't hurt her. Please don't hurt my sister. And I was down there on the pole like this.
Yeah, she didn't say a word.
And unfortunately, it changed who I was. It turned me into a cold person.
Yeah.
Not showing emotion. I've had situations where, people are like, this is serious, and they're talking to me, and I'm looking at them like,
me too.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I'm not
about you.
I'm not about to cry. I don't care.
Yeah.
Especially if a person is being aggressive towards me or whatever, I'll just be like, it's whatever. And it can be scary. Like, I be scared myself. Like, dang, Krista,
this
why
person
you so cold?
Me too. Why you so cold?
Girl, how is you so cold like that?
It's wicked good.
It's not normal. And so I'm fighting that. I am fighting to not be cold, but I felt like my dad did that. And I'm gonna tell you one other thing that happened that contributed to this cold person that I can be. I'm not always, but I can be, So my dad was arguing with my mom, and for whatever reason, this time we were outside, and I was yelling, I was screaming, I was emotional about it.
Yeah.
And my aunt was there. She pulled up, and she came, and she literally choked me up, and she looked me dead in my eye, and she said, don't you ever let that man see you sweat. Don't ever let him see you sweat. Do you hear me? And I was like, and she was like, be quiet. And that was it. I understood the assignment. I was quiet, and from then on, I was just like, you ain't gonna get no emotion from me. Like, I'm not giving it to you. I don't have it to give. I'm not gonna let you see me sweat. If you trying to break me down, I'm not about to be crying out here like some punk. I ain't gonna cry. I'm hard. And I'm fighting that now, y'all. Like I literally said in one of our podcasts that I'm trying to learn to cry again.
Yeah.
Because my life experiences, and it wasn't just those two experiences, those just stood out the most. But certain things you just be like, I'm not even about to cry. I'm not giving you the satisfaction. You're not going to break me down. I'm going to be tough. They literally called me tiny but tough.
She was tiny
when I
but
was
tough.
little.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry that you went through that, because even though we were both there, in a lot of the things that we went through, like I said, our experiences are different. Where you were tough and like, I'm not doing this. I'm screaming because I'm hurt, or I'm going through trauma because this is just so drastic. But I eventually got to the point where Crystal got later in my life, to the point where me and my dad was outside squared up, fist up. Like, I'm like, nigga, I will listen. Not today.
You got the wrong one.
You got the wrong one today. Outside in the middle of the street about to fight my father, and not thinking twice about it. Now, what I would have won, I think that day I would have.
Okay.
I think that day I would have.
Yeah.
But I say that to say that coldness that you experience is something that I got over time.
Yeah.
And it's just cold and it's hard. And how do you get that back? Like, how do you not be that way? Because it can tear up relationships. It tears up friendships. It tears up sisterhood. And it's something, when you turn it off, you got to pray to the Most High God to turn that thing back on. And that's what we're here to say. We're not glorying in who we are, but that we do need the help.
We definitely need the help, and I think we're just here to say it's not for no reason. Like, if you ever experience me being cold, now you know why. That does not make it okay. I'm always asking for the Holy Spirit. It's to the point where I'm like, well, some of my girlfriends, I'll say to them, I admire you because you're so sweet and you're so soft.
And you cry and you're so graceful.
And I'm like, how do you do that? Could you show me?
You such a good wife.
Point by point. How do you do that?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't know how to do it. Especially when when adversity comes my way, I want to be able to respond in a what would Jesus do manner, And again, it takes the Holy Spirit, and I have definitely many of those battles, but it's a fight. Sometimes you get me on the right day, the right recipe is PMS, and I might lose it. I might lose her. I might be real cold, or I might, just struggle to find those emotions that, whomever it is that I'm interacting with needs from me.
Yeah.
And it's
hard.
It's hard. It's a struggle. So I would say those are, the main things, the main adverse childhood experiences that I had in my younger years. I think as I begin to get older, there's some more trauma, because the trauma goes through age 18.
Oh my gosh. And
So
it
there's
develops.
more.
Yes. It's so much more. I don't even know if we have enough time to just think about all of the instances that
so many.
we could bring up to talk about childhood trauma.
All right, so just to wrap it up, on a positive side, one thing we want to tell you is that your ACEs, your adverse childhood experiences, are not your destiny. They don't end there.
Amen.
Really, we just want you to know that you may have them, know how to identify them, and here are just a few tips on, what you can do to get through. What would you say?
I took the test and my score was 7 out of 10, 70%. So that means I definitely need help. But the first thing is being aware and knowing that you have had some childhood trauma and experiences that has affected your life in your, childhood all the way up to where you are today as an adult. Once you know that and you identify it and you accept it, now you have to do something about it, because you can't know it and you can't just stay there. You have to take some steps to say, I need to deal with this. I need to work through this. What can I do? The first thing you want to do is start with yourself. And that's creating a safety environment, safety for yourself, because a lot of times we act in fear when we have those childhood traumas.
Yeah.
So when you face a situation that creates or brings you back to that trauma, you want to make sure that you speak to yourself and your inner child. And I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds stupid. Just speak, because he is in there. Him little.
Speak to him.
Look at him. Be your friend.
All right.
All right. So you got to create a safety space and talk to your inner child. Tell him that it's gonna be all right.
Oh God. We're serious though. It just sounds funny, but we're serious. It just sounds funny.
All right, start over.
That's what you have to do.
All right, you have to do that. I'm not gonna say it again. You know what you have to do. You gotta be secure with yourself.
Yes.
And you have to start with prayer,
Yes.
but you really have to say, this is what's happening right now. This is how I'm reacting, and I'm not there.
Yes.
I'm not that child.
Yes.
I'm not that kid anymore.
Yes.
I'm right here as an adult in this present situation, and then I want to handle this in an adult way and not the way that my inner child would have it. And I think they said you have to practice it.
Literally.
You have to identify what your inner child did, but then say what as an adult that I am going to do and how am I going to handle this, and then really practice it. So when that situation comes up, then you can react and you can respond in the right way, in the right person and where you are today.
Absolutely.
The bottom line is being aware and getting the help that you need, and seeking out being a better person. That's the one thing as well.
Yeah. It's so important because you want to be able now to prevent this for your children. You don't want your children to have these traumatic experiences, and the more that you help yourself, you obviously are going to help them, and we can break that cycle. So it's important for that reason. What does the Bible say about trauma? 1 Peter 5:7 tells us to cast all of our cares and our anxiety upon God, because He cares. And He really does, y'all. He cares for us. He'll never put more on us than we can bear, right? So if you have experienced childhood trauma, God was there, and it may be hard to hear, but He was there when you experienced it. He brought you through it. You're still here today. He may have allowed you to go through some of those things for testimony, for His glory. So you just never know. So don't be angry about it. Don't be angry at God. Just know that He was there with you. He brought you through, and He just has a purpose and a plan for your life.
And Lord, I'm here for it. I'm here for the healing. I am here for the discussion, for talking through things. I'm here for the growth, God. So we just thank you for being on this journey with us to talk about it. It's not easy.
Please share it with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell for our alerts. We know that this past 2 weeks have been a little heavy, and so next time you come back, we're going to do something really, really fun.
Yes, so have a good time.
It's going to be a whole party for the next podcast. So we look forward to you joining us next Tuesday. Another thing we wanted to say was, if you take the ACEs test and you feel bold enough, tell us what your score is. Tell us what traumas you have to work through out of those categories that we named. Let's just keep this dialogue around childhood trauma going, to tell our stories so that other people can connect with us and they can overcome just like we are going to overcome.
Amen. We're going to overcome. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Bye. He in there. He coming out.
No, for real.
Our